Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and it's a new month, which means I need to do a new TBR for the month of April here. For February and March, I've actually done pretty good since returning back to the channel. I think I went 4 for 5 both months, so that's pretty cool. Now, in April, there is a really interesting reading event, readathon, known as People April, which is all about biographies and memoirs in nonfiction books, about people, which I think is really cool, like learning about social history. And anytime like nonfiction gets a highlight, I'm always pleased. This was created over at Scally Dandling and Books, which her name is Ross, and Elizabeth over at Bookins and Books. And I've been subscribed to Elizabeth's channel for quite a while now, so I really think you guys will all enjoy both of their content. So I'll leave their links down below as well. But like I said, the readathon is kind of all about learning about people and reading about people. So I don't know. Like I said, anytime nonfiction gets the limelight, I am well pleased. They got a Discord server that I've joined as well, and a Storygraph challenge as well if you're interested in that sort of thing. But let's just go ahead and get started. Before we get into this one actually is kind of like People April applicable, I think, too, but this is actually a book I didn't quite finish in March of the Mammoths for March here. We got The Soviet Century by Carl Schlegel, Archaeology of a Lost World. I want to say I'm just under half. I think I'd probably say about 45% of the way through. But this is all about just lots of different aspects of living under like the Soviet Union throughout its entire like history during the 20th century. Really interesting. I haven't learned anything before reading this book pretty much about like Soviet culture and stuff, but this is going into like a lot of detail about how regular people actually like live their lives, and what did they like put in their house, and like what did they go out and buy, what was it like to go to a store like during the different decades and things like that. Like how did travel work, how did living in the city as opposed to the countryside work, and all that kind of stuff. So I've learned a ton, and I think it actually kind of actually works in a way for People April, because it's all about just kind of like the regular citizens under the Soviet Union, and like I said, what life was like for them. Like I said, I didn't quite finish that, so I will try to finish that here in April. I did read The Pursuit of Power, which was also surprisingly, the Soviet century seems to be going faster than this one. This one just was a slog. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to do like a video probably like on that one. But anyways, now on to some biographies and memoirs and stuff. I try to fit like a bunch of things specifically for the readathon. I'm going to do one reread here. We got The Arbor, A Life Discovering the Eighth Continent in the Trees Above Us by Meg Lohman. This is just a really fantastic biography. Meg Lohman is a canopy scientist. She literally climbs giant rainforest trees and stuff, and studies like the leaves and the insects and the different kind of biomes that are kind of like up, that are unique in like really tall trees and stuff. But the first half of the book or so, 2/3, is sort of her biography, how she came about doing that, the different places like she's gone, like she lived in Australia for a while, things like that. And then the last third is all about different projects that she's helped kind of spearhead, which I really enjoyed, trying to make like the rainforest canopies more accessible to people with like disabilities, for example, doing bio blitzes with local communities, all kinds of stuff like that. Just really enjoy it. I'm going to do a reread and probably a review of this book at the end of the month or something. But yeah, just highly encourage people to check that one out if that sounds interesting to you, about reading about cool scientists and stuff. Okay, so I have been sent a couple books here that I've decided to read here in April because I think they'll fit pretty good. This one is Guerrilla Tactics, How to Save a Species by Greg Cummings. And from what I understand, he is not necessarily a researcher scientist per se. He's more like the fundraiser, rabble-rouser, kind of the person who gets the funding for a lot of these projects. And he was, I think, the head or the marketing person for the Dian Fossey Foundation over in the Congo. And I think it was like the British aspect of it and stuff. But he kind of details, it's part memoir, biography, like, his life and stuff. But I think a lot of it is more about, how does he like rub shoulders with the rich people and fancy people and celebrities and stuff to kind of get exposure for different like wildlife projects, and kind of like how you go about fundraising at the kind of like global level and stuff. So it's something I've never really read about, and I thought it was really interesting. Plus it's kind of like, it's on like a wildlife foundation, obviously the gorillas being super endangered and stuff. So just like I said, thought it'd be really interesting to learn about kind of the financial side of things, if that makes sense. Just because I've read a lot about, I've read about gorillas, I've read about different like research projects and stuff, but not like, how do they actually get the money to do these things? Because it's not cheap a lot of the time. Next up, we got American Woman, The Transformation of the Modern First Lady from Hillary Clinton to Jill Biden by Katie Rogers. I wanted this one because I'm super lacking in American history. I got like all my ancient, Greek, Roman, medieval, all that kind of stuff going on, and I have like two books on American history. I want to say three. I think I can count three over there on American history, and it's a double whammy because modern history, like really modern history, I barely read ever either. So I figured this would be something for people, April. It's about, individual figures that I've never read about. I don't really know much about like first ladies in general. I don't even read much about presidents either. Like I don't know. It's just something I've never really read about, but I'm interested to learn a lot more about the ins and outs of kind of I guess probably the transformation too of like, some are like really private and some are much more public. So I think that'd be pretty interesting. And then lastly, I lied. Lastly from Crown Publishing. So I do want to thank them too for sending me out some of these books here. We have The Unclaimed Abandonment and Hope in the City of Angels by Pamela Prickett and Stephen Timmermans. And I wanted this one. This is all about. This is gonna be like kind of like Barron's when I talk about it was a book that's gonna make me angry, but I wanted to read it. This one's probably gonna make me sad on purpose, and I want to read it. This is all about when people die and they have no friends or family or something like that, and bodies go unclaimed, and what actually happens to them, and how how does that come to be, and then what does society do with them, and the different like programs that are involved with that. And partially I wanted to read this because I work in like the social work field and stuff. And I don't know, like I said, it really just piqued my interest, and I just kind of want to learn more about that. And I feel like now that I know that, I always kind of vaguely knew about it, but I didn't realize it was like at the magnitude that this, like when I was reading like the blurbs and stuff about this book, the magnitude of how like big this, I don't want to say problem per se, it is a problem, like obviously it's like a societal problem, but I guess the level of how many bodies actually go unclaimed, and like I said, it's probably going to make me sad, but it's something I do want to read, and I could feel like this one actually fits for people, April, as well. Alright, next up we got a couple more books that I want to get to, maybe if I finish all those. I don't know. This one I've had for a while, and I remember buying it, and then I just never read it, and I just keep forgetting I have it. We got The Field Guide to Citizen Science, How You Can Contribute to Scientific Research and Make a Difference by, Darlene Cavalier, Catherine Hoffman, and Karen Cooper. So this is all about citizen science. For those who don't know what that is, it's when scientists are running some sort of experiment or program, and they get the public involved in completing the project to kind of like get data and information and stuff. Like some of the ones like, the Audubon Christmas bird count is kind of like that. I know there's like the Sunflower Project, things like that. But there's tons and tons and tons of them. And it's starting to become a much bigger thing, whereas back even like probably like a generation or two, like 2 generations ago for sure, but even like, I don't know, probably like in the 80s and earlier, citizen science just like wasn't much of a thing. Like it was kind of frowned upon, whereas like now they've figured out ways to be like, no, we can actually use like tons of people to gather information and be able to kind of vet it just enough so it actually counts as like scientific accuracy and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, it's something, just a really interesting topic. I don't think it'll be a super crazy read, but anyways, want to learn more about different projects that are going on, and maybe how you can like find more projects, I guess, in your like local area and things like that. And then lastly is a biography that I need to read at some point, and I figured this would be a great time to do it, and it's A Lab Girl by Hope Jahren. I read her Story of More a long time ago, and that's like one of my favorite environmental kind of conservation reads, and it's one I recommend to people all the time who don't think there's any problem with the climate, or there's anything like that, there's no environmental problems. So that's the one I recommend to them. And this is sort of her biography on becoming scientist, and I think there's kind of like an aspect of in a lot of these scientific disciplines, it's a very male dominated space, and it's sort of how she was able to make a way for herself and fit in, and like I said, create her own kind of space in that world. And like I said, it's been really highly regarded, and I've read her other books, so I figure, you know, I have this one, I might as well get to it at some point. So I figure April would be a good month for that. So there you have it. Those are like, what, 7? I was keeping it pretty good to 5, but you know, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to read all of these during the month of April. Let me know if April sounds interesting to you, and if you have any good biographies or memoirs. Got a couple good recommendations on my last biography video. Actually, I'll leave a link up there for my favorite biography reads from 2023 if you haven't seen that one yet. But always remember, whether you're reading books about people or not, read victoriously.